would that newsletter be online?
Yes,
The
it is now.
asking is if we can reference it in our newsletter with a tag so
Yes.
if someone who's not on the list can go ahead and get it.
Yes, so right now, if you go to the tarrantcounty.com and you were to click on Commissioner's Court and then Precinct 2, there's a link to it. And when you hit the link, it'll populate a full PDF and you can take a look at it. It's about 4 or 5 pages. We probably won't make it too much longer than that, but embedded in the newsletter are links to like fuller explanations on things, to perhaps votes that we took, an explanation on an issue, or an update to, let's say, TxDOT, for instance, to talk about the Southeast Connector.
So we put on, even though most of our people get the letter individually, there's some that won't, so we'll put a link in our newsletter.
Okay, that's awesome, thank you for that. And thank you for bringing it up, I meant to mention that when I said ways to keep in
Well,
touch.
I wasn't ready to ask because everybody else has probably more important things.
No, that's very, yes. No, you all need to know what we're up to. I think we got a question there and then there. So, yes, sir.
So, when I have an issue in the city, I know exactly who to go to and everything else. So, Commissioner's Court, tell me what typically a Commissioner Court deals with.
Sure.
And why a citizen would be there
Why would you
talking
need to
about
reach
it.
out? Sure. Well, so we set the tax rate, we adopt the county budget. We bring pretty routinely in our court meetings is that we approve agreements, contracts, things that come from either the 30-plus departments that fall under county administration, or that the other elected officials ultimately, some of their decisions have to be confirmed by the court, approved or voted down. You know, it's somewhat different, of course, from the city to where you do know, okay, I've got a pothole or code compliance issue or things like that. But let's say if, you know, in your community that there was a drainage issue, or, you know, if there was a street repair issue, and perhaps that the city could use some support in that, then there are ways that we could partner together through those like interlocal agreements to try to leverage each other's resources. But so, of course, the other parts of government, so like when you go to the Arlington courthouse and you have the tax assessor collector's office there, the passport office, which the Arlington sub courthouse does have a passport office. Right now they're doing renewals, so if you need to go renew your passport, that's a great location to go to.
They take photos.
They do take photos, yeah. There's your county clerk and your district clerk, your constable, your JP, so we work in concert with those other elected officials to deliver services. Yes?
I'm sure you're aware that the federal government has decreed that you cannot fly after October 2020 unless your identification is on
Gold star.
Yeah, your gold star. You know, I think of the yellow stars that some people had to back in the 30s. But anyhow, what is the county doing to help its citizens get this identification?
Sure. I don't know, honestly, that we're doing anything yet besides probably referring people to the state, since that's a state through DPS or
DMV.
Thank you, DMV.
Yeah.
And they've been in the news so much, I think I wouldn't forget that acronym.
Some cities in
but-
California, they have mobile buses that go into neighborhoods to help people comply with this federal.
Sure. No, it's a great question. I don't have the answer to what we're doing, if we're doing anything specifically, but we'll check into that.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, the state just allocated a whole bunch more money to hire 300 or 400 new people to work at DMVs, and Governor Abbott
Yeah.
got on his soapbox and told them to get their house in order, so.
You think maybe they'll put it back in Arlington? They pulled it out of Arlington, you
Right,
remember?
it's at East Chase now, right?
Yeah.
I've got to go get one, yeah.
Well, I recently had to renew mine, and so I was not aware of
You
the
did it online?
change yet. No, I had to go in person. There was, whatever that falls on in the year where you have to go in person and take a
Yeah.
picture.
Okay, so we got some documents.
Yes,
But you
but
can use your
so,
passport to get on the plane,
no.
even after that.
Because I wasn't aware that mine had that new designation, because as soon as I saw that there was that
You looked,
requirement,
and it
I
was
looked and
there.
I was like, oh, it's already done, so that's great. Yeah. But
No, it's a different
we'll look
one.
into that.
Yeah, it's time for me, never mind.
Another question, separate article, you talked about the JPS bond. How much is that going to increase our taxes?
So it's a no tax rate increase bond. So basically, we would issue the debt based off of the need, and then factor in, obviously, the repayment of the debt, which is part of the reason why we're taking our time right now in evaluating how we move forward with which parts of the bond and the timing of all of that, because we have to make sure, one, that we can not just afford to build it, but that we can afford to operate it, right? And not just, turning on the lights and things like that, but the staffing and obviously other aspects of it.
That's good news, thank you.
I have a standard question, I
Okay.
guess. Newly elected officials. What surprised you most? 'Cause I know everybody has an idea of, I'm going on commissioner's court or
Sure.
city council or what have you, how it operates, but when you get there, you find out it's not exactly like you thought. What surprised you most?
Well, I was sure I had a pretty good sense of what counties do, but we do so much more than what I just kind of came in knowing. And I didn't necessarily have any expectation of the speed at which things would move, but I did learn just how impatient that I am. Because I'm thinking, well, this should have been done however long ago, but, most things just aren't that easy, and some things, especially to be done right, do take time. But I will say that I'm extremely thankful to all the county staff and my colleagues for helping me to get acclimated. I ask a lot of questions, and so they're patient with me in asking those questions. And I'm never not gonna ask the questions, just to wrap up, in 30 minutes or whatever. And then I also have to thank the community for inviting me to even meetings like this, where we can talk more about what's going on in county government, so I can hear from you all and what some of your concerns are, what's going well, what can we improve upon. And so I do hope that, even though I know I've ran over time a little bit, but I do hope y'all invite me back.
Devin, could I ask one more question before we wrap?
Sure.
Could you describe your staff that works in your office that interacts with the public?
Yeah.
Like the difference, what does Kelly Rodriguez do versus Vana
Yes.
versus Liz
Yeah.
versus Vichika?
Yes, exactly. Okay, so we do have our administrative staff, and we technically have 3 offices. We have the office in the Arlington Sub-Courthouse, we've got the Mansfield Sub-Courthouse off of Broad and 287, which is right next to the City of Mansfield complex. And then we have like a one-room office in the county administration building. So generally on Tuesdays, that's where me and a few of the staff members are, because we have court, we usually have committee meetings before, after court, and then obviously we have, county business meetings. So our precinct administrator, or what you may hear the term in other government offices would be a chief of staff. His name is Jay Jackson, and he has both a state and federal policy experience and outreach experience. And then Vaughn is our community outreach coordinator. So she does a lot of stuff in making sure that we're staying connected with what's going on in the community in the 6 cities and the 4 school districts that overlap with Precinct 2, and then also some policy areas. Elizabeth Maldonado is our one of our office administrators, and so she handles scheduling, which is a pretty significant thing to have to do. And then, of course, other aspects of just running an office. Kelly Rodriguez is our assistant precinct administrator, and so she handles a lot of our internal county things. So talk about having 30-plus administrative departments, so our IT or audit or this or that, and she's been with the county for a number of years, and so it's great to have her institutional knowledge there. She also has aspects of outreach. I see it as a responsibility of every single person who works for the county, but certainly for Precinct 2, that outreach has to be really important. So that means we go to where the community is. We try to make sure that we connect you with resources either that are provided through the county or other levels of government or elsewhere, like perhaps through nonprofit. And then Machika is our part-time admin who, mostly if you call the office, you're probably gonna talk to Machika first. Or if you come to the office, you'll see Machika there, so. And then, of course, there's our garage team, so. The positions in county government, not all of them, but some of them are civil service. And so as a newly elected official, I inherited the staff of my predecessor. That's happened with other commissioners. And thankfully, we were able to build trust. And of course, that takes time, but to see that we're all here for the right reasons. And so we're going to work together to get the job done. So about 8.5 months in. And so things are going really well. Yeah. But I know it can be confusing. Who do I call for what?
Right.
Yes. Yes.
What kind of gut feeling do you have about Arlington going against Denver for the memorial?
You know, I'm a pretty optimistic person. I think we have a great chance, especially if, from what I understand from Mayor Williams in terms of the Medal of Honor Museum board, their goal is to make sure that, one, it's located in a patriotic city. I mean, Arlington is very patriotic. I mean, you look at every, on many of the holidays, and we have the Rotary Club that puts out flags, and then if they don't put out the flags, then the homeowners put out the flags. Mine's fallen down the last few times, which is really irritating, but I think it's just some days it's really windy. But I know their focus is wanting to make sure that the community will support raising the money for the museum, that it's in a patriotic city, that it's a community that has a history of supporting veterans, which certainly in Tarrant we do. We know in Texas that we do. Obviously, it's not perfect, but we do a great job in supporting our veterans. And then I think wanting to make sure that it's in a location that people want to come to. So you think about, the tourism, the 14 million, or I think maybe the most recent number, 16 million tourists that we get every year in Arlington. That's because of where we're located, in the middle of the country, so close to DFW Airport. We're in between Dallas and Fort Worth, and there really aren't a lot of competing attractions either, right? So if you're in Arlington, then you would just as easily, Ashley and I heard Mayor Williams say this just last week, so I'm going to repeat him, is just as you would enjoy the museum district in Fort Worth, then this obviously is in addition to that. Or if you were to go to, Dallas for what their attractions are, if you're within 30 minutes of, the National Honor Museum of all things, like why wouldn't you want to visit it? So I think we have a pretty good chance based on that alone. I'm sure there's some other factors that they're considering that I'm not aware of, but we wrote a support letter. Our Commissioners Court passed the resolution to support it. Our Veteran Services Officer, his name is Thomas Belton. He's a Marine for 10 years. He leads our veteran service efforts for Tarrant. We've contributed numbers that, of the veteran service officers, which the legislature says for a county of a certain size, you have to have one. We end up serving veterans from surrounding counties because we do such a good job at it. And that's not to any additional cost to us as Tarrant County taxpayers. It's just because Thomas and his team are so committed to making sure that veterans and their families get what they need. So I know we're doing everything that we can, and I'm really hopeful. Apparently the decision is supposed to be made like in the first or second week of October. So we'll know pretty soon. Yes. And I'm just, of course, Mayor Williams is on it, so he's got the selling points down, Pat.
What's the location that's been chosen, or has it been chosen yet?
So it's between us and Denver.
But I mean.
And then here, it would be, I don't know exactly where, but it would be located in the entertainment district.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.